Hello Film Worlders, it's me your host Micah Pendleton and welcome to Film World Community. Let's get on with today's episode. We're going to start off with a question from Irkola Jadka from the Film World Forum. He says, tell me a great tip on how to edit VFX shots. Now if you're talking just VFX in general, which I do think that is what you're saying here, I would say first off, plan. I mean, you have got to go in knowing what it is you need to do and what you're trying to accomplish. You can work around mistakes on set and all that kind of stuff, but you really want to have a good plan going into it. Also, make practice runs. Don't be afraid to take risks and all that kind of stuff too. Try things out, experiment, do new things, all that kind of stuff. So definitely some things to check out there, but also you need to know your camera's specs if you're talking visual effects. You've got to know this. You need to know the focal length, shutter speed, aperture, sensor type, and things like that. Because once you get into, like, say, Blender and you're trying to add a CG element, if you don't know your focal length, it's just not going to work at all. It's going to look a lot wider and stretched out than what is actually in camera, things like that. You really need to be careful with that. Moving on to sort of a similar question, but it's a little bit more specific. It comes from Adarsh Campbell. He asks, I'm trying to make Wolverine hand claw VFX. Want some tips? Honestly, when it comes to doing something like Wolverine Claws, my biggest tip would be do as much as you can practically. Don't try to do it in visual effects. Try to do it on set as much as possible. Now obviously the claws retracting and extruding and all that kind of stuff, you will need to do that with visual effects because last time I checked nobody actually has those. But buy fake claws or something like that. Now VFX wise, you want to make sure you add plenty of tracking dots on the hand. Okay, so like for adding the tracking dots, I would probably put them on the back of the hand. Maybe some on the fingers would help as well. You want to be able to get a good solid track. They can be removed later. Don't forget that. Don't be afraid to add tracking markers. Now don't add too much, otherwise your tracking points will jump from marker to marker and all that. Okay, so have some good solid tracking markers that you can definitely be using. Next question also comes from the Film World Forum. It's very off subject from filmmaking, but it's, what brand of toothpaste do you use? Toothpaste. I usually get Crest 3D White. Moving on to filmmaking questions. Also from the Film World Forum, Ace the Dolphin Guy asks, could there be a chance for viewers to collaborate and help you on projects in the future, like if you have a green screen or something like that? Absolutely. See, Sam and Nico from Corridor Digital, they called upon their fans one time to help out with a lot of roto work on like I think it was like Mario skateboard video, something like that. And they called upon their fans and they did a ton of rotoscoping work and stuff like that for them. And it was really cool to see that kind of collaboration from the fan base and the people themselves. I mean, it was really, really cool to see. And I would love to do something like that with you guys. Right now, it's mostly just trying to find the right project and one that I could definitely hand work off to people, you know, across the globe even, through internet files and things like that. But that's definitely a really cool idea. I could definitely see this happening. I do actually have the idea of doing a Kickstarter project at some point, but it'd have to be a very advanced project, one that I wouldn't mind asking for some backing on, and at the point where I feel like it's really the time to do that. So that's also another avenue I'm really thinking I might do at some point, is something like Kickstarter. And now a fandom question, also from Nicholas Hamilton. He asks, who is your favorite Doctor? Well, from Doctor Who, if that's what you're talking about, I would think so, because I don't exactly have a favorite Doctor, considering I don't go to see the Doctor. It would have to be Matt Smith, followed probably pretty closely by Peter Capaldi. Matt Smith is my favorite, but Peter Capaldi is really, really good as a Doctor. From DJ Minecart, we have, what camera would you recommend for under $200? Honestly, not really any. A couple of Canon Vixia camcorders are pretty good. I have one myself, but they're around $230 and up. So those ones are pretty decent. You can get an okay image out of them for sure, especially if you know how to use them right. But under $200, I really can't say that there's a specific one I would recommend new. Used, that is a different case. You can find all kinds of great used cameras on Craigslist, eBay, Amazon. I'm sure even B&H Photo has some kind of a used section. I mean, there are a lot of good places where you can get some good used cameras for under $200, and that's what I would recommend you do, because there is no shame in using a used camera. No shame at all, and it doesn't even make sense a lot of times why you would buy a new like $800 camera if you can get one that's in like new condition for $500. You know, things like that. So that's what I would recommend you do if you're looking to be strictly within a $200 price point, is try to find a good used camera. Make sure you inspect like the lens especially. That's where you find most damage, and it's really uncorrectable, is the lens will have a scratch on it and it can be bad for your video. So make sure that the lens is good. Check to make sure there's no major scratches on the body. Just make sure that people who owned it before you probably took care of it right. Screen's in good shape. Nothing's out of order really, and like sun damage even. If it's been left out in the sun too long, that can hurt internal components. You just want to check out to make sure it's a good camera that's worth the money. But yeah, so used is definitely what I would recommend for $200 in that price point. But if you have to buy new, the Canon Vixia camcorders are pretty decent. Next question is from QJR, and because I haven't exactly been too active as of late due to my desktop being dead, he says, "I am so glad you're not dead." Well, I'm quite glad as well. And with how little I've uploaded lately, you probably would have guessed that. Alright, the question is, what's the most difficult thing you have ever done in Blender? Well, this is a very good question. There's been a lot of challenges that I have had in Blender, and a lot of it came from my early days because, well, I was just starting off, and Blender is a pretty steep learning curve. But once you master that curve, it is so worth it because Blender is so amazing. But I would have to say VFX for a project called Red Knight that I did with my local film group. I don't think you can really find it anywhere online. I believe it was just finally posted as a online, unprotected YouTube video, and I can't even find it now because I don't know, the project just never really went anywhere, but the visual effects I did took a lot of hard work. I was doing fire effects, all kinds of stuff. It was very advanced stuff, for me at least, on the desktop I had before. On my new desktop that I'm getting ready to build, it's not going to be near as demanding, but it would still be pretty cool, especially considering that I can make the fire way better than I did. But yeah, some of the shots, like this one you can see here, they ended up pretty pleasing to myself. Of course, I could have done a lot better now, and they're not the best, but at the point where I was in my learning and all that kind of stuff, and also where my desktop was at that time, I'm actually pretty pleased with how some of the visual effects turned out. I also 3D modeled a almost, I would say, photorealistic TARDIS. I say that, but at the time I probably thought it was photorealistic. I'd probably look at it now and say that was not photorealistic. You know how that goes. And but that one was quite a challenge because I was really trying to get the wood to have all the grain aligned and all that kind of stuff to make it look like it was actually, you know, the TARDIS itself. And that one was pretty tough. That one was tough as well. And another one I would have to say is lightsaber roto, or roto in general, because it takes so long, it's so detail oriented, it's not hard, but it can just be so mind-numbing at times. So rotoscoping is definitely something very hard, even though it's easy, but it's difficult on the mind. Every project really though, it presents its own problems. Every project I come up against, there's a new challenge, there's a new hurdle that I have to overcome, something new I have to learn. And that's one of the things I love about filmmaking, is it always causes me to learn something I didn't know before and really push my boundaries to create something totally new and totally different, and I love that. So yeah, I just love filmmaking, period. But yeah, every visual effects thing that I come up against, it's always a new challenge, and I always cannot wait to tackle it. Last question comes from Film Superiority. He says, "So sad the death of your desktop." I know. Rest in peace. Anyway, he says, "Also, can you check out the trailer I made for my short film?" I checked it out. Link is in the description for you guys to check it out as well. I like it. keep it up. The ideas are really cool. I love found footage projects. They're so cool to me. They're very different and almost have kind of their very own niche. They're very specialized in the kind of a film you can really do, but I really like it. And the way you're doing it is cool too. I mean, like a great one I saw, well, as far as found footage films go and everything, is Earth to Echo. Now the movie itself wasn't that great, obviously, but the execution of the found footage format I thought was really cool, and I think that you've done a really cool job here as well. As far as critique goes, I would have to say that background music might have been nice, even if it was something really subtle, something that kind of gave away the idea of an alien invasion, something like that. That might have been cool. I understand if you kept it out intentionally, because I also get where you could have come from that standpoint. Also, when you're going in and out of the text slates and you started adding the ship sound effects and all that kind of stuff, at first I thought it was just mic static. So maybe a little bit different sound effect that's a little bit more unique to sounding of a spaceship. Now obviously we don't know what a spaceship sounds like, so you can really go anywhere with that. But at that point I really thought it was some kind of like mic static or NLE problem or something like that. So maybe a little bit of change to where like you have the sound effect going through the entire video would also help get rid of that idea. And just play with the sound effects a little bit more, honestly, is what I would say. They were good, but the spaceship especially maybe needed a little bit of an upgrade. But all in all, I really liked it. I thought you did a great job. I cannot wait to see your project. It looks really cool. Just keep up the great work. Just keep coming up with ideas. It's definitely very, very good, and I love to seeing the direction that it's going. So keep it up. And keep me posted, and keep everybody else posted as well. Remember to be sharing it on the Film World forum. Alright guys, so that pretty much concludes this episode of Film World Community. Quick update for you, all notes aside and everything. My desktop is going to be built very, very soon. I should be ordering the parts within the next couple of weeks or week. It's very, very close. And then going on from there, I've got a lot of projects being filmed right now. I'm writing a lot of scripts. And Film World is coming back really, really soon. So I know it's been kind of a long hiatus, but I'm going to take some time, really spend time making it right and getting it out to you guys. And hopefully, with the new desktop, I will actually be able to get it out to you on a weekly basis, because that has also been a major problem for me. It was just processing power for the past couple of years, really. That desktop was so slow on processing power. It had very little RAM. My NLE was constantly crashing because of lack of RAM and processing power, things like that. Graphics card was horrible, on and on and on. This desktop, let me just say, it's going to be amazing for all of Film World, and I cannot wait to get it built and get it out to you guys. And also, there will be a build video, and I will definitely keep you guys updated as well. Alright guys, that concludes this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you very soon. I'm your host, Micah Pendleton, and I'll catch you next time.